This is Lindsay Coaching, and I'm here with Kevin on the Here and Now podcast. Kevin is a good friend of mine and a fellow coach. We've started our journey together, and even though we took slightly different paths, we kind of headed the same way. Kevin, if it's okay with you, would you like to give a small introduction?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think it's, like you said, the first time we met was on a coaching course about, was it 3 years ago or something like that?
2017, yeah.
2017, yeah. And obviously we stayed in touch. And yeah, so I'm a coach. I coach predominantly within businesses on mental health and well-being.
Awesome.
So that's a passion of mine, and also working on authenticity and helping people to find their truth and live their truth. So that's kind of brief introduction to me, like where I am now. Yeah, obviously there's quite a checkered history that led up to this point, and we might dip into that today or another session. But
that's why we're here now. So I hope we can divulge into some of that. You say you coach on authenticity. So I'm feeling that is something very near and dear to you. Could you say a little bit more about authenticity, Kev?
Yeah, for sure. It's a journey I've been on, and I'm still on, in all honesty, is finding my truth, living my truth. And probably, when we met actually 3 or so years ago, I wasn't in the best place, and I just literally had this, something had just kind of shifted. This new awareness came up for me. It's like the person who I was being at work just wasn't me, and I reached burnout. There's all sorts of things going on, and I just lost the sense of who I was.
Oh, wow.
So this coaching journey has almost been my journey into finding myself, and it goes back a bit further than that as well, actually. But that was a big one of the big turning points for me, was just raising that awareness. Yeah.
And Kevin, now that we're here on this powerful point of authenticity for you, would you mind if we go back a little bit and discover why this became so powerful and essential for you, authenticity? Where did the lack of authenticity resonate from that made it so powerful for you now?
Yeah, sure. That's quite a good question. Being an introvert, I think there's a lot that I've helped. Like, looking back now, it's difficult to pinpoint exactly when, but for years I kind of kept myself within myself, or kept within myself, and didn't allow myself to fully express who I was. Like work, I blamed work for a long time. I blamed it on work. I said, working in corporate, you're taught a way to behave. You kind of hide behind your suit, and that was my experience. It's like hiding behind your suit, and not showing up as not allowing the real you to actually show up. So there's definitely some of that, and there's definitely some truth in that. But I think something more important was me coming to terms with my sexuality. Like I'm a gay man, and it took me, 5-6 years ago that I actually accepted who I was, and then started to come out to people. So that was this big thing that I kept locked inside, and didn't let anybody in on for years. So that was probably the start of my authenticity journey, was accepting that part of me, and then from that everything else just started to unravel, like who I was being at work and in relationships and everything else.
So are you're saying there was a big dissonance between who you felt you were inside as opposed to what you're projecting to the rest of the world around you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't obvious at first. It's like something implicit that you don't. It's in your kind of unconscious or subconscious. You don't realize that there's this kind of, like you say, this dissonance was happening. But certainly the person who I was being on the outside into the outside world didn't reflect who I was at work, in my relationships. And because of that, because I couldn't be completely truthful and honest with myself, first of all, that kind of depth of that deep connection and those intimate relationships just weren't there for me.
Yeah.
And that probably goes back a long way, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And what would you say, Kevin, was the turning point? What would be the point where you realize that something's got to change for this authenticity to come out? Is there any specific particular moment in time, instance, situation?
I think where it started for me was the financial crash. Or was it
2008, somewhere there. Yeah.
So that started to happen, and I started to get disillusioned with work. Like I was seeing people just like the office I worked in went from 50 odd people to 20 odd people in a space of 6 months. So lots of redundancies, and I just like head down, keep on working, and it's like, no, this isn't, something's not right here. I don't feel comfortable with this. I ended up like taking a sabbatical, and went traveling for a whole year.
Kevin, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
You said something wasn't right. The something wasn't right was within you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you started feeling this authenticity wanting to come out at that point.
Is a sense that there's something that was missing. There's something else that I needed that I wasn't getting from my life at that time, and from my role in my job.
Okay.
So I thought I'm gonna travel for 12 months and try and search for the answers, try and find out what it is.
Okay.
And yeah.
Certainly
that opened things up for me. That certainly opened up some awareness.
That was my next question. Thank you for taking it out of my mouth. That was great. What did you find on your travels? What did it bring you? What did the search uncover?
It just opened up this world. It's like I was living in this kind of this little bubble, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm from a working class background, so it's from a suburb town just outside of London, just inside the M25. I worked in this office that was out in the sticks in Kent.
Okay.
And I wasn't experiencing, like, it felt like very insular. Like looking back now, it's very insular.
Yeah.
Like where I lived, everybody kind of stays in the same families and stays in the same social groups for years. And what traveling did, it just opened up this whole, like the world. And it opened up all these different cultures and these, like even when I, like obviously been on holiday and stuff before, but when I go on holiday, it'd be to like a British resort abroad somewhere, like somewhere in Spain. So you're not really experiencing a different culture. So it's part of that was upbringing as well. So.
It sounds like when the world opened up, it opened you up. As much as you say the world opened up, it's something in you started opening up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm seeing a metaphor here between the traveling and what it opened up in your eyes, in relation to how it opened you up about your authenticity.
And a lot of people question, like, how can you like travel on your own? How can you do solo travel? But for me, like you just named it. Actually, I got my independence. Like rather than like following other people, and it's like, no, this is my chance to be me and clean slate. I can go away for a year and discover myself and just open up myself. And that was a start. That's when it started. Actually, was from there.
Okay, and so we kind of like extracting how you got to here now. Now that what was you say the coaching was a big significant point in your journey as well, right? What happened at that point in your authenticity journey?
Yeah, so I'd moved at this point. I came back from my travels, like 12 months sabbatical, stayed at the same company for another couple of years, and then again I was unsettled, and then ended up moving to London, moving to London, working in central London. And that, again, that opened up a lot. But I reached a point where I was at burnout, if you like.
Okay.
Like the pace of life in London is very fast, very fast moving, and it kind of swallowed me up a little bit. And I got to the point where it's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, my work was my life. I was spending my weekends like drinking or getting into other stuff as a way of numbing the pain of what was going on.
Wow.
And I reached a point where I can't do this anymore. And it was actually my boss. I met my boss, went into the meeting room and said, look, I quit. And he said, what do you mean you quit? I said, I can't do this anymore. And he said, what? Why? What is it you need? I said, I have no idea. All I know is I can't sustain this lifestyle that I'm living right now. And he wouldn't let me quit just like that. He said, go and speak to a colleague of mine I know, have a chat with her. I'd worked for her previously, because a lot of my previous role was in learning and development.
Okay.
So he said, go and have a chat to her. And I said, I just need to take a break. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, but I know it's not this.
Yeah.
And that's where I got into coaching. I just had the one session with her, Annalie, and it just opened up so much. It just shone a mirror at like my life and what my life was like, looking like at the time.
Awesome.
And just put a spotlight on it. And I wouldn't say it fixed anything then, but it just put a spotlight on exactly like how I was living my life, and that something needed to shift.
And for anybody who's watching this that resonates with your story, what would you say was the thing you were missing? What could you have maybe picked up on or triggered sooner? Is there anything?
There's so much. It's difficult to pinpoint one thing, but
Okay.
I would say that as a coping strategy for dealing with all the crap at work and dealing with this, almost putting on this professional mask, was to completely numb myself from the pain. And like I say, whether that was from alcohol, recreational drugs, or just like disassociating, like not listening to my body, not being in touch with my own emotions. So part of the journey I've been on is just to raise awareness of that, raise awareness of like, what's your body telling you? Because it wasn't giving me anything at the time.
Kevin, you said something very powerful a second ago. You said to numb the pain. What was the pain? What was the pain you were trying to numb?
Yeah, and I wasn't even aware of the pain. It's just so many things. It's difficult to pinpoint one thing. Okay. What was the pain? But it was, I just felt misaligned, if you like. On so many levels.
Okay.
Like relationally, work-wise. I'd been in a unhealthy relationship leading up to that moment as well. So it was also all kinds of things going on, but it all kind of came to a crunch. Okay. So to really, it's really hard even now to be able to say it was this one thing. It was like a whole load of stuff I was carrying.
Kevin, we're going to focus predominantly on here and now. I just want to ask you one more question related to the past. What would you say to the younger Kevin? You're looking back 20 years ago. Is there any advice you'd give young Kevin to try and help him on this journey that led you to now where you are?
Yeah, that's got a deep question. It's a good question as well. Just to be yourself, follow your own story. Probably my younger self wouldn't understand that, but it'd be just like, just be you. Yeah, just be you. like be the essence of who you are, and forget all the other bullshit. Because that's probably something that I found most difficult from a very young age, was to be me. And obviously there might have been some shame in there, and some, it's like we're shaped by our stuff that happens when we're younger, right?
Absolutely.
So there's bits of me that I probably wasn't comfortable with.
Yeah.
So I just learned to hold it all in, and to try and be what other people wanted me to be, or society wanted me to be, or rather than to actually be me.
Okay. So to younger Kevin, with an emphatic message, is be you.
Be you. That's probably as simple as it gets, right?
Okay. Because I asked that because the power behind it is it helps your inner child even now to remind yourself of what is important. So it helps in retrospect, but the retrospect heals now to help you forward. But also for anybody else who might resonate with your story, and they might be 20 years younger than you are now, and that'd be like, oh wow, there are people who are going through what I'm going through, and be you is powerful. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Like for all of us, right? We build up these layers of protection, and we lose that essence of who we are.
Yeah.
So again, connecting with that inner child, like you just did, it's a way of stripping all that back. What's like when you unpeel all those different layers, the pure, the you in its purest, most authentic self is still there. The essence of who you are is still there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. How are you feeling? You okay?
Yeah. I'm good.
Thank you for that candid vulnerability and openness. So what's here now? What's the vision? What path are you on, and where are you going, and what path are you taking to get there?
Yeah, what's here right now? I've got a warm feeling just connecting with like that kind of the essence of that young version of me.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's empowering, right, to connect with that.
He's still here. That's why I brought that up. It's important to acknowledge him and to be with him, because I think our inner child drives us no matter what. So the more we can parent that child in a good way, the stronger we are in the present moment. So I'm glad that brought some awareness to you.
No, for me, and moving forward, it's just continuing to do the work, right? To like, because for so many years I was dissociated with emotions, with like sensations in the body, all that kind of stuff. It's an ongoing process to reconnect with that and to get more granular with that. So that's kind of where I'm on my journey right now, is and actually we're on the same course. It's just doing work on like somatic awareness, emotional intelligence, and for me that's a gateway to authenticity. It's by listening to the wisdom of our whole self, not just what's going on up here.
And that was very insightful. I really like that. Thank you for that. What would you say is an unorthodox path you're taking that could maybe bring you to this enlightenment from a different angle?
I wonder if you invited me to talk about my psychedelic experience, maybe.
You're open to speak as you'd like, and you're welcome to just. I want you here now.
Yeah, I can briefly touch on that, and also just to be equally vulnerable. Another thing that I kind of got into over the last year, which is also I found really powerful, and that was shibari.
It was what? Sorry.
It's called shibari. So shibari is, so whilst we're on this kind of alternative kind of direction. So shibari is like Japanese rope tying. It's involved tying around the body, like similar to BDSM, if you like.
Okay. And what's it supposed to bring you? What does it do for the mind and body?
For me, what it does, it brings intimacy, trust, and also surrender.
Okay.
So it's been able to let go of that need to be in control, letting go of that need to, because control can be so dangerous, right? So it's been able to trust another person, let go of any kind of inhibitions, and there's a vulnerability to it as well. But also, like, it's so powerful just to, like, being at both ends of the both being somebody who's tying the other person and being the person who's being tied or suspended or whatever. So that's been really interesting. It's there's a place in London that has workshops on it.
Oh wow!
So people will just incredible. So it's not like it's not a sexual thing as such. Although some people might do it for that reason. Like typically, but it's more about connecting with your inner self.
Okay.
And being able to let go of what you're attached to, and just that's been really powerful for me to.
Wow.
Yeah, just to let go and surrender to whatever, because you can apply that to your whole life, right?
Okay. It's okay. Sorry. Yeah. You sound like you're really on a journey of exploration and opening. You know, it sounds beautiful that you're just willing to experience the essence of life. It's really great.
Yeah, and there's something really grounded about it as well. It's like really, it's like a form of meditation.
Okay.
Just doing this kind of practice. It really, takes you away from like the noise of normality, right? A way of just switching off. Okay. And the other thing I talked about was psychedelics. It's something that I'm working in the area of mental health.
Okay.
If I'm honest with myself, I was struggled with mental health for a long time, although it's only like recent years that it's become apparent that I was. And since probably a year, 18 months ago, I started reading up about psychedelics and how the impact it can have on the neurocircuitry in the brain, how it can help alleviate anxiety and depression, PTSD, and how back in the 50s, before it became like mushrooms and LSD became this big recreational drug, and then everything got shut down. So prior to the swinging 60s, doctors and psychologists were studying this in a big way and having some like remarkable results with people that are suffering mentally. So I got into this, started reading up and doing lots of my own research into it, and I really thought this could be for me, right? I want to experience this for myself. And I started microdosing, because again, that's something else that a lot of people talk about these days. It's becoming more into the like popular culture.
Absolutely.
And then I did so I did that on a trial for how long was it for 3 months with I can't remember what university it was now, but it was like an official trial study into
great.
The impact of such. So it wasn't for recreational use. It was more to inform like the medical science and neuroscience.
Awesome.
So I did that as a trial, and then I decided I want to do a journey. I want to journey with this stuff. So I went on a psychedelic retreat in the Netherlands, where it's all legal out there. and it's basically my first experience of taking like psychedelic drugs, with the safety of it being in these controlled conditions. So we were surrounded by, or the facilitators were psychotherapists, like specialists in their field, but facilitating like the whole experience. So there's lots around setting intentions beforehand, doing lots of coaching circles, dynamic meditation, stillness meditation, and then after the experience, like reflections, really processing what just happened for everybody in the group. So
what did he bring? What did he bring? Before we ask the next question, I'd just like to highlight for anybody watching this that it's a journey. It's not something that should be just done recreationally. I've read up about it myself. I'm also on my journey towards that. But just to highlight that this is something for healing and growth, and it's a journey and should be done in a controlled environment with a shaman, or it's not something to be just done at home. We're not promoting that in any way.
Absolutely. I
just want to highlight that.
It's not something to take lightly. Like these are powerful substances, and whilst psychedelics are different to other drugs in the sense that they're not physically addictive, you shouldn't take them lightly. You should seek experience support in
Let's just
highlight. I wouldn't want to condone just everybody going let's all take drugs, but for me it was a healing process. It was that's what I went into.
Okay. And what did he bring you, Kevin? What did that experience bring you in terms of this authenticity that you're teaching and trying to reach within yourself?
I would say, like, to use a metaphor, it's like defragging your computer. If ever you've defragged your computer and everything suddenly speeds up and it works more efficiently, that was the impact it had on me. Like over the weeks and months after that.
Okay.
Also, it allowed me to, it's almost like organizing your implicit memory and being able to sort through your memory, and it's really hard to explain, but also it temporarily almost dissolved my ego.
Awesome.
So that part of yourself that wants to control you, that wants to be in control, that wants to
judge, and
that inner self-critic, it almost like suspended it temporarily. So you could then look in areas where perhaps it were too painful to look, and also just to experience like what life represents when it's stripped right back, without all this kind of conditioning. When you're stripping back all that conditioning, stripping back that ego self, stripping back all those layers of protection that have built up. So it gave me just like a screenshot of life without that. And you could say like meditation has the same impact, right, over a period of time. It's very similar to that. And therapy as well. It can help with that kind of stuff. It's almost like therapy on steroids, if you like.
Defragging the brain on steroids.
Yeah.
Kevin, I've known you for 3 years, and I met you at the beginning when that transformation happened, and I see you now. And I said to you before, I can't believe the transformation that authenticity and letting go and liberation has brought you. I think it's phenomenal, and I really admire you for what you're doing. You're a role model of mine, I have to tell you. You're doing things that I'm hoping to do. Some I've done, some I'm working on, but you're really, really leading the way in a good light. is there anything that you'd like to say, that you'd like to advertise about you? What would you market yourself as? What do you want to bring to the gay community, to people around you? What do you want to, what's your message?
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for those very kind words, and the feeling's mutual, right?
Thank you.
I think we've both been on the journey. All of us have been on a journey since we started 3 years, and probably before that as well. So yeah, what my passion right now is to, and it's an idea that I have in my head for a workshop at the moment, actually, which is to learn to love yourself. And this is something that's feels really resonant for me right now, just from the journey I'm going through, like getting in touch with my sexuality and the gay community, and it's definitely a journey I'm on. And I see so many problems within the gay community with like alcohol, drug abuse, chemsex. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and most of it is deep rooted in trauma from our childhoods, right? I'm not saying all of our journeys are the same. We all have different experiences, but for me, and it's something that only like I came to just recently, it's learning to love yourself again, and like you said, we did about like connecting with your inner child. It's almost connecting back with that. So that's watch this space. That's something I want to bring to the world going forward, but also in my coaching generally. Like, I want people to be more authentic, whether they're working in corporate organizations that try and kind of box you into a certain way of being and a certain way of acting in the world. I want to break down those barriers and empower people to give themselves permission to show up fully, bring more of that whole self to work, and to integrate your work life and your personal life. It doesn't have to be two separate components, right? It's all about integration. The more we can integrate our bodies and our intelligence and our emotions, integration, I think, is.
It's so amazing to be part of. I've seen your journey and to see what you're looking for, and now authentically want to bring that to everyone else. It's really admirable, Kevin. It's a great thing to be seeing and watching and be a part of. Be standing next to you as a friend and see this happening. And I a lot of respect for you. So we're coming to a close, my friend.
Sure.
I can't believe how fast the time has gone. This has been great.
Sure. No, it's been a pleasure to chat to you, and
I hope we'll do another one in time, sooner rather than later. But I appreciate your openness, your vulnerability, which vulnerability, by the way, is the new strong. So thank you for being so strong in vulnerability. And I admire your journey. I'm by your side. You need any support, we're here together. So we lean on each other.
Yeah, likewise.
One more message for anybody else that's watching?
Just be you.
And love yourself.
And love yourself, yeah. Be you and love yourself. Love that.
Okay.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Kevin.
Catch up soon.
Fix you soon.
Bye.
Ciao, my brother.